You're listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
Monday, good morning, and welcome to The Scrimmage. I'm Daniel Hargrove.
And I'm Justin Domashevitz, and I hope you stuck with us through that really weird noise because we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, namely the most important sporty thing that's happened in quite a while now. The NFL draft we'll talk about, kind of big picture stuff, but more specifically how it affects the Seattle Seahawks.
And even though I just spilled my drink all over my face right before we started, we're still good to go with the 2-minute drill.
It's not just a home or a car, it's the 6 months you save to get your Ultra HD flat screen just in time for football season. It's the overtime you worked for that third car so that your team can drive themselves to practice. While other insurance companies just see them as a bundle or a combo, State Farm agent Mark Rossetti sees your home and car as things you work really hard for. Mark understands what your things really mean to you and is here to help you give them the protection they deserve. Visit Mark Rossetti at 613 Oak Street in Aberdeen for your home and auto insurance today.
Let's go, huddle up! Gotta hurry. Hey, 2-minute situation, 44 seconds, hand the ball to the ref. Gonna do it right. 3 jet Buckeye on 1.
The 2-minute drill starts now.
San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch said on the Rich Eisen show on Wednesday that he and Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan did discuss the possibility of signing Tom Brady in the offseason. Justin, should that make current 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo feel insecure about his job?
You know, I heard a lot of opinions on this throughout the week, and the one that made the most sense to me was actually something I heard on PTI. And Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser kind of agreed he should feel secure in his job because his coach and his GM had a conversation about bringing a guy who's largely considered to be the greatest quarterback of all time onto their team, knowing that he kind of wanted to go there, and they chose Jimmy Garoppolo instead. So I feel like at this point he could say, well, hey, they chose me over Tom Brady, so whether I'm greater than Tom Brady or not, these guys who are in charge of the team felt confident in me, and they chose me over the GOAT, who, in my opinion, is not a GOAT. But, you know, people think that, and they're wrong. Although it seems like old news at this point, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers acquired Rob Gronkowski via trade from the New England Patriots early this week. Daniel, how does the acquisition of Gronk affect the Bucs Super Bowl chances this season?
You know, I'm glad that Gronk's going to be back in the league because he's fun to watch and he's an hilarious person. But I don't think weapons were really the issue down there in Tampa Bay for Tom Brady. So I'm not sure how much this affects their chances. I think that they already have some good tight ends down there with Hayward and Cameron Brate. So I don't think weapons were really the issue there. It's going to be protecting an old quarterback in Tom Brady. And so, yeah, I think that their chances are about the same as they were before this move. 49ers corner Richard Sherman told ESPN's Jalen Rose and David Jacoby on Tuesday that he has been playing up to 8 hours of Call of Duty every day during the stay-at-home orders due to the coronavirus. Justin, does this surprise you, and have you ever played video games that long?
I once played video games from about 10 o'clock at night until about 6 o'clock in the morning. So yes, I have played video games that long. Never Call of Duty, and I was pretty young at that point. I would say I was probably in my mid-20s. So I don't know. I mean, No, you shouldn't do this. No, Richard Sherman shouldn't do this. He can think of a more productive thing to do with his time. I am judging Richard Sherman for all the video games that he is playing during the quarantine period. Former Seattle Seahawk Percy Harvin, who hasn't played in the NFL since 2016, is now training for a potential return to the NFL. Harvin said, quote, "My body is feeling good. Mentally, I'm better. My family is good. The timing is right." Daniel, if you were running an NFL team, would you send Harvin a training camp invite?
Yes, I would. And I'll do one better. Not only would I send him an invite as any NFL team, I wouldn't mind the Seahawks bringing him in. I think that his issues, the type of issues he had, were ones that a lot of different people go through. And the fact that he thinks that he has worked through a lot of these issues, maybe he's grown up, maybe he's matured a little bit, he's had some different health problems too. I think that if he truly has overcome these issues, he's still a fairly young guy. I think he could be effective, especially on special teams where he was best, either as a punt returner or a kick returner. And I know the Seahawks just drafted a guy who they think might be able to do that, but Percy Harvin was one of the best at those things. So if they could get somebody like that in on a minimum deal and have them be a punt returner and kick returner so Tyler Lockett doesn't have to do that, I think Percy Harvin would be a decent choice to do that. I'm not going to expect much out of it, but give him a camp call? Heck yeah, why not? That was the 2-minute drill brought to you by State Farm agent Mark Rossetti. Thank you again for that sponsorship. Justin, what do you think about Percy Harvin? Am I a little too accepting of this guy? I know he was absolutely a handful and a headache, no pun intended there, since he had migraines. But
too soon.
But I'm saying, like, is he? What do you think about that? I think that if you could have him come in, I mean, who is that running back that the Seahawks used to have that pretty much just did punt and kick returns, and he was pretty electric at it. I mean, that's
Leon
what I would.
Washington?
Yes, exactly, Leon Washington. And so if he could come in and be somebody like that, I think that'd be worth a minimum deal. Since, I mean, I'm assuming he can still return kicks.
I mean, I would imagine it's hard to go back and look at it and think, oh yeah, let's bring that guy back to the team, because he was incredibly disruptive. But now, a few years removed, that kind of time could really make a person look back and think about the mistakes that they made and reflect on their life. I mean, he hasn't played since the 2016 season. So he's had really a few years to go, holy crap, I really screwed up that opportunity, because at his best, that guy was incredibly explosive. It sounds like, you know, not only physical health with some of the injuries he had and the migraine issues that he was dealing with, but he had some mental health issues as well. If he really has taken 3 years or so to reflect and realize the mistakes he's made, it could be worth an interview. Like, it could be worth Schneider and Carroll calling him up and, like, trying to figure out if his heart's actually in the right place. Because, you know, not only in the return game, but, you know, they can use him. He was explosive on those jet sweep, fly sweep plays. He's a guy who has the capability to come out of the slot and run drag routes, you know, occupy space in the middle of the field. I am interested in the idea of it, but I would be, if the Seahawks did bring him in, I would be very cautiously optimistic about what he could actually provide, because of it's the upside downside thing. Like, does he provide enough upside for the potential issues that he could cause? So I guess what I would say in that situation is, if the Seahawks did decide him, or a team that I liked did decide to bring him in, I would have to trust that the front office did their homework to figure out if his head's really in the right place.
Yeah, I got two things on this. A, he was very disruptive, but they still won a Super Bowl with him. And B, Josh Gordon. I mean, they are not afraid to do things like this where there is that upside downside thing. And I feel like they've gone through it enough with different players to know how to deal with that situation of, like, hey, this guy's super talented, but it could bring some downside to it. And we've seen him do it a bunch of times.
I agree with that. And also, I think Josh Gordon was a good example of a time where they decided, hey, the risk is worth the potential reward with Josh Gordon. And I mean, it really wasn't, nothing bad happened with Josh Gordon. He wasn't as productive as we might have hoped that he would be, but, you know, it didn't seem like it was a detriment to the team at all. So, I mean, if you have a guy who's actually there for the right reasons, then I would be all for this. All
right. It's going to be interesting to see if that's going to I don't know if they're going to do that, though. I'd be really interested to see. They did just draft a player in Freddie Swain, who I think they are hoping can step into some of those return roles, but I don't know. We'll see.
I mean,
I'm still hoping
crowded.
that hoping John Ursua gets more of a role this year anyway. So I'm like, every time I see a receiver drafted or picked, I'm just like, oh no, I need Ursua so bad.
I was about to say it's a pretty crowded receiver room at the moment, and Ursua would potentially be a casualty of that. So I don't think that's something that any of us want, especially Daniel, since he's the president of the John Ursua fan club.
I mean, they could always get rid of Moore.
Yeah.
Well, we're all hoping for that anyway.
I know.